Enrollment Specialist, Greg Jarvis. Big smiles today.
9, 8, 7, 6. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Roger, roll, Challenger. Good roll program confirmed. Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%. Challenger, go at throttle up. Challenger, go at throttle up. Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction. We have no downlink. We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
I was 11 years old, and I would have no idea how that single incident would affect my life forever.
Langston Magnet School is a school of about 430 students, and we have pre-K through 5th grade classes. We're very family oriented, and that's something we really strive for and want to achieve, where all families feel welcome here. We want anyone who wants to come and visit us, we welcome them, and we want parents to come in and be part of the classrooms. And I would say that's one of, we focus on our theme, but the biggest thing is that we try to be very family oriented. Langston is different in that we take our themes, such as the aerospace and environmental studies, and what we do is integrate and infuse them into the regular curriculum, where we also follow state and national standards, but we really focus on the aerospace and environmental studies.
The magnet theme has worked wonderful at our school. It brings an excitement to your teaching. It brings an excitement to the faculty as a whole. It's been fun to teach with this theme in mind. For students, it's a wonderful thrill. Most children at some point in their lives want to be an astronaut, or they have seen science fiction movies, Star Wars and the such, and they just love the mystery and the excitement of space. So teachers and students alike both have really enjoyed having the theme of aerospace at our school.
When I walked into the front door, I was immediately impressed with Langston. The murals of pictures in space. We had the space lab that was painted black with the planets and glow-in-the-dark stars, and it was just like a dream come true. It was everything that I had hoped and expected it to be.
Aerospace has always intrigued me. You know, the stars, the planets. And for me, it has always been so exciting. And maybe it's because, you know, I was around for the first walk on the moon, and I've lived through so much, and I've seen so much, and it's been so exciting, and it's always been intriguing to me. And I know with kids, they love it. They love to talk about rockets. They love to talk about the planets and the stars. And so this has been wonderful, this having a theme, you know, for me coming to this school and them choosing this theme. It is just, it's fit, you know, and I think it's destiny. I think I was destined to be here.
The teachers who teach at our school with the theme of aerospace teach in their classroom pretty much as far as their art and their style of teaching like you would teach anywhere, but the way they integrate the theme into their curriculum is what makes it exciting.
The opportunities we have here at Langston are far greater than any normal classroom that I've ever been in any school. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful, and I'm able to lend to my students a love that I have. And when you're excited about teaching something that you love, then it shows in the students and how they react to you and how they respond and how they learn.
Most students that choose to come to Langston have a very high interest in science and in math and technology. We try to do a lot of different activities, a lot of hands-on activities. You know, one thing we're trying to get away from is just textbooks and papers. We want to get on the internet. We want to have activities where they have their hands on them. The student that wants to come here wants to be part of that.
I think that being in a school like this is a very positive thing, because I think it has allowed our children to see the dedication, the work, the training, and the preparation that it takes to be an astronaut. But it has also let them know that it is a possibility. They're able to expand on that natural interest, and they're able to basically have kind of a hands-on approach and to be able to pursue some of the things that maybe under ordinary circumstances they would only read about or think about, but here they're able to have a hands-on approach and really get involved, and it really becomes very real for them, and they can just expand on the interests and the abilities that they already have.
We have really tried to incorporate the aerospace aspect of our theme into our studies this year. We have sent several teachers to Houston to visit the Space Center there, and they've attended conferences there, and when they've come back they have been so excited. They have made wonderful contacts. So we have been very involved with NASA this year, and it's just awesome. I mean, it really is a dream come true for me.
I've just been overwhelmed with what the school has done and is doing and wants to do. Our resources here, to me, have just been unlimited for what we can do. Our time limits us.
The NASA resources have been of wonderful benefit to our school. They are there to help educators. They have a wonderful partnership with us. And we just pick up the phone and call NASA, and we get pretty much what we need as far as any kind of materials that help us to incorporate this theme into our teaching and into our school climate.
One of the things that our school enables us to do is to have a lot of training and a lot of opportunities for the teachers. The last 3 or 4 years, they've tried to send 3 or 4 teachers at a time to the NASA conference in Houston. The year I went, I met a lot of people there, and they were very friendly and very willing for us to have connections with them. I got email addresses from a lot of them, and then once I came back, they send me stuff all the time in the mail, anything that we want. You know, how much do you need? How many do you need? And they send it to me. I believe having having those personal contacts enables us to do so much more than what we could do without that, definitely.
I'm continually amazed at the resources that we have here at Langston. Just to have NASA itself as a resource is just incredible. I can say things to the kids. I can teach the kids everything that I know about space and everything that I know about what the astronauts do and how they live in space. I can say all of those things, but it's different coming from the actual people. We have videos that the astronauts make themselves in a weightless environment. It's so much better than just telling them, well, when you're in space, you don't have any weight. They can't comprehend that, but when they can see it and then you can discuss it, the abstract becomes concrete and they can understand it.
We have our interactive learning stations in the hallway. And out there in the hallway there are hands-on activities, there are videos for them to watch, and these are informational videos such that we get from NASA. So we have a lot of things like that in the hallway. When the children are finished in their classroom, they can go out in the hallway and do activities.
The students, you can just see it on their faces. They love to learn here. We have interactive learning stations that they're rewarded for, and they can go out and watch science movies or read science books as a reward for being good in the classroom. Anytime they go to the science lab, it is just a treat. They come back with smiles on their faces. Miss Clark, guess what we did? Guess what we did?
Probably the most exciting thing that our students do is 5th grade students go to space camp in Huntsville, Alabama. They stay a whole week. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for students, and they come back just so excited of all the things they've learned about space. They fly mock shuttle missions and learn about all the different experiments that take place in space, and it's just a wonderful experience for them.
I think that kids have a natural curiosity about space. It's just one of those things that I think just lights you up on the inside. You want to know more because there's so much to know, and we know a lot, but there's so much yet to learn. And just the enchantment of it draws the kids. It draws me to want to know more. So when you talk about space, you don't really have to make it into something bigger than it is, because it in itself is enough to widen their eyes. Before we began the unit on living in space, I just kind of took a poll to see what the kids wanted to find out. What did they want to know before we began our unit? And what they knew already. And it was really interesting. It was really fun. They really didn't know that much. I was surprised. A lot of them didn't even know what the International Space Station was. So it was very interesting, and I knew that I had just found a wide open field. The kids just had so much fun. It really was fun. And at the conclusion of the unit, we wrote essays about what we had learned about living in space, and I was just amazed at how much they had learned and how far they had come. After we finished the unit, we found out that there would be a launch. Columbia STS-107 would launch from Florida. And our school decided that that would be our first official launch that we would all watch together as a school and be a part of.
When the Columbia was ready to launch, we were so excited because this was one that was going to be during school time. This time we were actually in school and everybody was here and we had studied about it, and so everybody had turned on their TVs and we watched it on the NASA channel. And it was just an awesome experience for me to walk around to the classrooms to see the excitement with the children. You know, they knew what was going on, they knew what it was about, and it was just, it was so real to them.
Up until the Columbia launch, my students had never seen a space shuttle launch. We talked about it, and that's why they were so excited about watching the launch on TV, was they had never seen that. When I was a child and a shuttle would launch, it was just magical. It seemed like the whole world just stopped whatever they were doing just to watch the shuttle launch. And to this day, I still feel that same awe. So when I was able to experience the launch of Columbia with my students, my class, it was just unbelievable for me. It was incredible. I was just so happy and so excited that we were able to experience that together.
It was just, again, we have that family feeling, and we felt like we were part of the Columbia family, that we were part of Mission Control, you know, when they were talking to them, and it really touched us, you know, that this was our first launch for us to do as a school.
When the liftoff started, the fire that came out of the bottom was so amazing to them, and they couldn't understand why it didn't burn the ground up and how come they're not burning up. And so they were really excited, and they all kept saying from being a Power Ranger, they were now going to be astronauts. They were all going to be astronauts. They wanted to go to the moon, and they wanted to fly, and they wanted to be able to look down on the Earth, and they all wanted to be astronauts.
Solid rocket booster separation confirmed. Guidance now converging. Columbia's on.
The kids had never seen a launch before. They were just overcome with excitement. You could see it all over their face, just the wonder and anticipation. And I remember just standing there looking at their faces to see how they were going to react.
We watched it, and we just kept up to date with it. We cut out articles from the newspaper, and we watched again the NASA channel, and you know, the kids would talk about it. So it was a very exciting time for us. Janie Hill was able to get Dr. Scott Smith to call and talk to Shelly Clark's class.
Dr. Smith emailed me, and he said that he wanted to he said, do you want to do a teleconference with your children to Mission Control? And I was like, well, yeah, we want to do that. And of course, I teach kindergarten, and so I wanted to do it with the older children. And so we got one of the classes, and we had a teleconference with them, and he sent a PowerPoint presentation over the computer, and he walked through it, and we had him on speakerphone, and the kids asked questions, and it was just really, really awesome.
I mean, that was just like, you know, that's the icing on the cake. You know, we are part of it.
Around here, we basically share everything. So if we have a resource and we want to share, we just stick it in mailboxes, and anybody who's interested, you know, that's kind of the way it goes. Well, I got a note in my box that said that we could set up a teleconference with a nutritionist that worked specifically with Mission Control. You know, anyone interested, please let me know. You know, I thought it would be a great opportunity for the kids. They'd done the Living in Space unit. We'd watched the launch. We had followed Columbia. We're continuing to follow Columbia. And I saw the opportunity, and I just jumped on it. I really didn't know when or how it could happen, but if it was possible, I wanted it to happen.
He called us from Florida the day before Columbia was supposed to land, and we had the speakerphone ready, and he called, and we put it to where he could hear everybody, and everybody could hear him. And he had sent a PowerPoint presentation prior to, and we had it set up on a big screen, and he did probably about a 10-minute introduction, and then he went through his PowerPoint, and then he left it open for the children to ask him questions. And they talked for over 45 minutes. He answered all their questions, and he treated them very seriously, and they were very respectful, and he just wanted to get them involved as much as possible.
I was just so excited, not just for the kids, but I was excited for me. I would have given anything for an opportunity like that had it been given to me in the 4th grade. Dr. Scott Smith is a nutritionist for NASA. He works at Johnson Space Center, and he showed what normal bone density looked like, showed the kids graphs of what the mass would be of a normal bone, and how a weightless environment affects their bones and what they need to do to take care of themselves. And he talked specifically about the mission. They sat there in just amazement, and all we really had was the sound of his voice and knowing that he was somebody important, somebody from NASA. And of course, we had the pictures there, and he had pictures of the astronauts. I remember one in particular. There was a picture of Laurel Clark in the weightless environment, and her hair was just sticking like that. And the kids were like, oh, look.
Being able to talk to people there and to see mission control and to actually, talk with them, it makes the kids have a connection with it, and it gets them more interested and gets them more involved. It makes them want to go there. It makes them want to do the things instead of just being something that they hear about or they see on TV. It just gives it a more personalization to them, I think. I hope this gives a new respect for our school. We're just a small school, and I want people to see us doing big things.
We had taken all week long to formulate good questions. I had stressed the importance that this is your one chance to ask somebody who really knows any question that you really want to know. I encouraged them to ask questions that, they didn't already know the answer to. They came up with some really good questions. I was so proud of them. And we wrote them down on index cards and brought them with us to the lab. One student had written down if it was possible to transfer oxygen from one planet to another. I thought, brilliant, great job. But instead he asked, how do the astronauts use the toilet? Kids are gonna be kids. Here you've got a NASA guy on the phone line, you gotta ask.
They loved every minute of it. They learned about biographies of the astronauts. They learned what it takes to become an astronaut, how difficult it is. And so our students were pretty actively involved in the launching and the Columbia space mission.
Columbia was just a household word around here. Everybody knew what was going on. All the children of all ages knew that was the shuttle, knew it was going up. We watched it, and they had a connection there with it.
When we left from the teleconference, the kids were ecstatic. They were so excited. Everybody was just on cloud 9. We were untouchable. And unfortunately, the bell rung just about the time we were leaving, so I didn't get to follow up with the kids, didn't get to find out. We were in such a rush to get back to the room and get our backpacks and get them on the bus that it was just really wild, but they were just in awe of what had just happened. And I was so excited for them. And that was Friday afternoon.
My fellow Americans, this day has brought terrible news and great sadness to our country. At 9 o'clock this morning, Mission Control in Houston lost contact with our Space Shuttle Columbia. A short time later, debris was seen falling from the skies above Texas. The Columbia is lost. There are no survivors.
Saturday morning, I was still in bed, and my phone rang, which is pretty typical on Saturday morning. So I rolled over and answered the phone, and it was my mom. There wasn't a greeting. She just said, "The space shuttle's exploded."
I was in Texas, about 10 miles out of New Boston, and we had been at the scene of an accident on I-30, and we had looked up. My husband thought he saw a shooting star, and then it just exploded like fireworks as they fall down. And we still didn't know what it was, but when we were leaving the accident, the officer said that we had just witnessed 7 fatalities. And so I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said that was the space shuttle that had just blown up that you watched.
I wasn't really able to feel anything. I was just so shocked at what had just happened, or what I thought had just happened. I just kept thinking to myself, no, it can't be. It just can't be. This can't be happening. And I had felt the same thing when Challenger fell. The exact same thing. And it started to occur to me that I was almost exactly the same age my kids are when I had gone through the exact same thing.
I took it very personal. Again, because I knew how our children were going to be affected. And that day, when it did happen, I didn't even turn on my TV for a little bit. And usually I do, but I hadn't done that. And of course, I stayed home and watched a lot of it on TV. And I had to run some errands. And I saw a parent, and she was telling me that, her little girl, that she was devastated. And I told her what we had planned to do at school, that we would have the counselor and that we would talk about it. But this parent was so caught up into it also because her daughter was so excited. And, her daughter's a very quiet, shy child. And, she said, I just don't know how I'm going to deal with this. And I said, we're going to help you, again, back to our family. We are a family, and we'll stick together and we'll get through this.
I expected my students to be shocked. And normally when those first few start getting there, I like to be standing at the door, to tell them good morning or whatever. And I mean, my heart was just pounding. I didn't know if I should say something. And I didn't have to, really. I stood there at the door. As they came in one by one, they just stopped at the door and they just looked at me. And, it was like I knew that they knew, and they didn't know what to say. And neither did I.
I don't think that you can know what you're going to say when you go in to talk to the children. I think that you just go in, and you go in prepared to answer their questions. You go in to try to reassure their fears and just try to make them feel better, and in doing so, hopefully make yourself feel better. I don't think there's any real way to prepare for such a horrible, horrible accident.
I'm very close to the children. I feel like they're my kids. And when this happened, I thought about all, the different feelings they would be having. And I called our school counselor, and I told her, we would definitely need to go into Miss Clark's room and talk to her children, and that, we would, need to speak with all the kids, but definitely her children, because they had been so close to this.
Ms. Nat, our school counselor, and Miss Green had decided that specifically they should come in and talk to my class. They thought for my class specifically that we needed some extra time and some resolution. And I just sat there. My heart was just breaking for them. Because it was so good on Friday. We had the world by the tail on Friday. And on Monday it was just different. We weren't talking about the things that I thought we would have been talking about on Monday.
Our children in general have come to realize that these sorts of things happen. I think that they're very shocked. and probably very afraid when these things happen, but I think it's sort of become a fact of life. I think they've come to understand this is a dangerous world, and they've lost their innocence. I think this class in particular has suffered in a different way because along with this being a national tragedy, it is also very personal for them because they're able to put faces and memories with these people. They took pride in knowing that they had a personal relationship with NASA and had a personal relationship and a personal knowledge as to what was going on a daily basis. So for them, beyond being a national tragedy, it's also a very personal tragedy and a very personal loss because they lost friends.
Basically the whole week after, the kids made cards, they wrote letters, they wrote poems, we made a big banner, and so we worked really hard. I felt like the kids needed them to know that we were sorry.
Astronauts are our superheroes, and we just don't think that anything can happen to our heroes. We think that they're invincible. So this was very painful for our children because this was their first experience with the inevitable that we cannot stop horrible things from happening. The only thing that we can really do is appreciate and value the times that we shared.
I see so many similarities between the way my students are handling this as to the way that I handled Challenger. When Krista McAuliffe was chosen to go up on the Challenger to be a teacher in space, I just found that amazing and inspiring. For the first time, there was a normal person going into space. It wasn't someone who had a degree in engineering or astrophysics or something like that. It was a teacher, and her job was going to be to teach in space, to teach kids from space. Kristen McAuliffe was, in every sense of the word, my hero and the person that I was inspired by. And to me, that was the ultimate. That was what I wanted to be. As a child, I always was intrigued with the heavens and space and the unknown. I think every child dreams of being an astronaut at some point in their lives, or at least thinks about it. I dreamed about it when I was a kid. My grandmother used to sit out in the yard with me and we'd make pictures in the clouds, and I would see airplanes and I could see the contrail behind the plane, and I always thought that was a space shuttle. That's what I wanted to do. That's where I wanted to be. It was one of those dreams that you have that it's just untouchable. You think about it and you think, oh, I wish I could, but I know I can't, so what can I do? My life goal has been to make a difference in somebody's life, and I've always been told that to get something out of this life, you need to pour your life into somebody else, into one person if it's just one. And being here and involved in the space program and connected with NASA the way that we are has allowed me to pour a part of me into these little lives that I'm responsible for. And it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling.
And if there's one thing I think that the astronauts have taught us is that a life of giving, a life that's lived courageously, a life that's lived for others is a life worth living. And it really doesn't matter how long that life was, because you could live to be 100 and not contribute anything, and that would really be the saddest thing of all. So I think that what we can do is inspire children to be heroes.
T-minus 10, 9, 8.
Challenger to me was just that. It was a challenge to me. For the first time in my life, I realized that you didn't have to be a rocket scientist to go into space. You could be an everyday person. And even though it was a tragedy, to this day, it still reminds me that your dreams can come true no matter how high they are. Krista knew the risk she was taking. I'm sure she thought about it every single day. But yet, she got on that shuttle. And without people like that, we couldn't continue in our exploration of space. She's a hero to me and to a nation, I think. I know to at least one classroom of kids. You can ask any one of my kids who my hero is, and they can tell you. And they can tell you why. My students know just about as much as I do about my experience with Challenger. I've shared that. I wanted to help them. I wanted them to understand that I know how it feels, and it's okay if you're sad, and it's okay if you're mad. It's okay if you have mixed feelings about it.
I think that initially they were in shock. I think that as time has passed, it's been difficult. It's been very difficult for them because the reality has set in. I also think that they are reaching the point that they're very proud. They're proud that they were able to have this contact. As time goes on, that they will realize that this, for them, was a life-changing experience too, because this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and they'll always remember the words and the questions and all the things that they shared.
One way that we try to have dealt with a tragedy is we have tried to acknowledge it. And we have a bulletin board where we have a lot of different things that the children have written about the astronauts or to other people, and we've put that in our front hallway. They were very concerned about the children of the astronauts. They were deeply concerned about their families and how they were dealing with it. And they were concerned about the NASA employees too, which I think, having dealt with Dr. Smith and other employees of NASA, makes it, our students understand it took more than those astronauts to put that shuttle up. It took a family.
Dr. Smith has emailed me several times. He wanted to know about the children. He wanted to know how it was affecting them. He was very concerned about that. And matter of fact, he even mentioned that the day of the tragedy, that thought went through his mind because he had just spoke with our children, and he said that was the first thing that he thought of was, what are those kids thinking right now?
We had one little boy wrote that we should do a fundraiser so we could buy another shuttle. It was very touching that he wanted us to do a fundraiser because he wanted to buy another shuttle. He did not want this dream to stop.
I think that as long as there are people that are willing to go, send them. If you have that determination and that adventurous spirit that you would risk it all to make your dreams come true for all mankind, I think we have every reason to be there.
The dream continues. We're not going to stop. Our learning will continue, and it may even be increased more with the aerospace now because there is such a high interest in our children, and they have been so touched by this, that feeling as though that was their family too, that they understand we have to continue. I think the Columbia disaster can be used to inspire students. We do have character assemblies, and each month it's a different word. This month our word is honesty. Next month our word is courage. And we have decided that we will dedicate that assembly to the astronauts. And I think it's very important that they understand that it took courage for those astronauts to do what they did.
I think that our children were very blessed to have an opportunity to have this contact. And I think hopefully for them it will be an inspiration, and it will be a life-changing event for them. It will be something that they will never ever forget, and that they will benefit from the sacrifice that our astronauts made for all of us.
We have booster ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Challenger with a multitude of national...
Oh, it's been a long road from Challenger to Columbia for me. Challenger was never really resolved for me. So to be in this position right here today, I feel like I've fulfilled a purpose that I was meant for. It all has brought me to the place where I am right now, for this very moment, to be with these children at this time. And it brings a sort of closure for me. It brings me to a place where I can say, I understand. Challenger inspired me to become who and what I am today. I hope that for my students, Columbia can be used as sort of an inspiration to them in some way. And for myself, I think I've come full circle. And now I'm ready to take the next step and make my own dreams come true.